Hello and welcome to this Attainable Futures presentation in association with Chamber 630 and Universal Technical Institute. And this is a resume writing workshop, a subject very close to my heart, and you'll find out a little bit why later on. My name is Hardi. I'm the Senior Employment Services Director at UTI at the Lisle, Illinois campus, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. So what are we going to cover in this presentation? So there's going to be two parts, probably about 10 minutes each, so we can break it up. And what we'll cover in part one is the purpose of a resume. We'll also cover tips for effective resume writing. And we'll go into the components of resume, and we'll look further into that in part two. So the purpose of a resume. I was going to fade these in, but when I did, the camera wouldn't focus properly, so you're getting the whole thing at once. Purpose of a resume then highlights your professional employment experience, your skills and your education. Basically everything you've done from high school moving forward. A resume can do three main things. It communicates your interests and your best qualifications, okay, for each particular job. And that's very important, and we'll stress why in a moment. It also demonstrates your value. This is key. Okay, we all know it's about you getting your dream job in the industry or whatever field you're interested in, but you've got to be smarter than that these days. There's so many employers looking for a decreased pool of people. There's lots of competition for the best jobs. And what you've got to do is make it about the employer, not you. What does the employer want? What attributes, what qualifications, what experience is that employer looking for? Okay, and we'll cover how you can best fill those in a moment. And also, if you can do those, it will allow you to make a positive first impression, okay, with a potential employer. But all that means two words. Main purpose of a resume is to sell yourself to your next potential employer. Okay, again, some tips and myths for professional resume writing. Again, I want to stress a typical recruiter, someone who does this as a profession, can do a visual sweep of a resume in 30 seconds or less. A lot of the time we see a resume to start with is from one of the online job boards when we're scrolling maybe 40 or 50 resumes. So we get to know what we're looking for and what catches our eye. And that's why this workshop will be very important for you. Your resume must be concise, it must be clear, and it must be organized. Okay? When I say concise, there's a lot of career advisors out there will tell you your resume's got to be one page and that's it. Nothing could be further from the truth. As long as it is relevant. The next bullet point talks about targeting. Okay? And if you target your resume properly, let's say your stage of the career when you're still in high school, maybe junior college or going into college, then maybe one page would suffice. But again, as long as it's relevant and relevant to what I'm looking for and what the nature of the job, then recruiters will read it. So what we said, resume should be targeted. And what I mean by that is you should have one unique resume that you send for each unique job you're applying for. And the trick is to try and get as much of your resume to match as much of the job description as possible. And again, I'm going to explain that when we get into that a little bit more in part two. One of the most important things of this is make sure you proofread your resume. Now there's two ways of doing that. A lot of advisors will tell you when you finish your resume, print it out, sit back and read it. But your brain can still play tricks on you. So if you've just spent half an hour typing something out, it's sealed in the back of your brain. And when you read it, quite often you will miss a typo, a grammatical error or something like that, because your brain is still remembering what you typed. The best bet is to give it to someone else. Give it to a friend, a partner, mum and dad, whatever, and then, because they've got no preconception of what you just typed, and they will quite often catch something that you maybe missed. And again, it's very important. Just a simple typo or mistake can cost you a job. Okay, it's seen by many recruiters as just a lack of preparation, lack of forethought, and that you're a bit sloppy in your work. Be consistent in layout and style, okay, especially the font and the size. Again, if you're cutting and pasting portions of resumes from friends or family or something you've seen on one of the resume help sites on the internet, of which there's thousands, nothing wrong with that. But be wary, because sometimes it's very difficult to tell the difference between maybe font size 11, 12, Times New Roman, Arial, whatever. And it's not until you've hit that magic send button and it's already gone to the employer, or you print it out, that you will notice the subtle differences in the font. So just be very careful of that. Again, use action verbs. Okay, a lot of people put responsible for this, responsible for that. You want to demonstrate to the employer your value, like we said. So use strong action verbs like conducted or performed. Okay, and like everything else in life, practice makes perfect. Okay, you will need to set up some time, make sure you're not distracted, no interruptions, and really concentrating on writing a professional resume. And one thought that I like to tell all my students is, a resume is never finished. One of the biggest mistakes we as adults make, and certainly those who are embarked on their career already, is that they don't keep their resume up in track, or keep it on track with their professional development and experience. Many a times we've had graduates who have come back after 5, 10, 15 years out in the industry, and they want their resume updated, and it's the original resume we wrote for them back 10 years ago. So I know it's difficult, and it's probably the last thing you think about when you're in a job, but again, I'd say every 6 months or so, I would look at your resume again, add any training that you've made done through your company, that sort of thing, to make sure it keeps track with your professional and career development. Okay, so most of this you will know, but we'll just go over in a wee bit of detail. So the key components of a resume, obviously you normally start off with your name, address, and contact information, but it's amazing how many times the phone numbers doesn't work. Or more critical is that the voicemail maybe isn't quite as professional as it could be. We get a lot of humorous ones as well, which being an ex-Navy guy I like. But make sure your voicemail is set up. Again, that's another thing we often find when we are trying to reach people, that they don't have their voicemail set up. Important to have a professional email address. This can be a career killer because many employers use it as a screening tool. And I know a lot of people have funny email addresses from TV shows or something like that. Great. Maybe have 2 email addresses. All these internet providers give you at least 5 free screen names. So keep your social one so all your friends and family can find you, but have a second neutral one that you can put in your resume, and all of your work related stuff can go to that, and it actually helps organize your work life. For years, employment specialists and careers advisors have been telling you the first thing on a resume should be an objective. Well, that's maybe old school. If I'm looking at your resume, I know you're looking for a job, so you don't need to tell me I'm looking for a rewarding and challenging career in the automotive industry or whatever. What I want to know is, what can Jane bring to me that Johnny can't? And this is where a professional profile comes in. And again, make a personal connection. So again, look at the job description and see what they're looking for. And then write down, put down all your expertise and your skills and competencies. Basically everything from high school onward, and anything that's directly related to the position you're applying for. At your stage, the next section after that would probably be your education, because your education is probably going to be stronger and maybe more relevant at this stage than your professional work experience, because it could be quite limited. So again, you normally start off with having a high school diploma or GED, and then work your way up to formal degrees like associates, bachelor, etc. Again, some of you may have actually had part-time jobs, working in the retail field, fast food, wherever. And again, you've probably done some professional training, whether it be customer service, some sales training, or just some safety training, first aid, that sort of thing. All that is important, and that needs to be in your resume as well. And again, like I said, part-time jobs, okay? And then maybe accomplishments. Some of you already, if you've been working for the past year, you might have won an Employee of the Month award or something like that, or got a first aid or AED credential, that sort of thing. All that's really important to get in your resume at this stage. So starting your own. One tip I really like to give students in high school, because you're never too young to start, is to start documenting your school working experience. Maybe buy just a cheap journal, okay? And start making entries of some of the courses you've done, maybe some school projects, extracurricular activities, that sort of thing. And this will simplify your task when it comes to writing your resume later on. And make sure, if you have had some part-time job experience, that you put down the details such as the employer name and the location, of the business, and the date of employment and job duties. The date of employment can be very important for later on, because quite often when we're trying to compile resumes for our students, they can't really remember the exact date or maybe the month that they start the job or finish the job. And that can be important later on when an employer is possibly doing a background check on you. And if if the dates don't match, that can be seen as being a red flag. And it's certainly while you're in high school and college, make use of your career services department or your careers advisor or employment team, whatever they're called. It's free, and I guarantee they don't bite. And don't forget other resources also in school and out of school. Use school and local libraries, internet job boards, there's hundreds of them. Indeed, Career Builder are just two of the bigger ones. And Glassdoor. Glassdoor is a little bit unusual that you can get really good snippets of information from previous employers about the company, about the work environment, benefits, that sort of thing. And don't forget friends and family. Okay, very important. If you have an Uncle Bill who happens to work in the industry that you're looking to get into, then great. Call Bill, invite him out for a coffee or lunch, and see if you can ask him, how did he get into that field? What recommendations would he have for you? Could you maybe do a job shadow day? That's an excellent way of finding out if that job is maybe for you. And again, networking is still the best way to get a job these days, if you know someone in the industry who can give you some tips and help you get in there. So that's it for part 1, and stick around and we'll see you for part 2.